Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavi Videtam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinanti Bhurida Jana. This is the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna class, and here it's more like we are studying this text together. So we are on the visit to Vidyasagar, Sri Ramakrishna's visit to Vidyasagar, and let's move to page 102. The date is 5th August 1882, and it's a long chapter but full of very interesting discussions. One man, Sri Ramakrishna is speaking, one man may read the Bhagavata by the light of a lamp, and another may commit a forgery by that very light. But the lamp is unaffected. The sun sheds its light on the wicked as well as on the virtuous. You may ask, how then can one explain misery and sin and unhappiness? The answer is that all these apply only to the jiva. Brahman is unaffected by them. There is poison in a snake, but though others may die if bitten by it, the snake itself is not affected by the poison. What Brahman is cannot be described. All things in the world, the Vedas, the Puranas, the Tantras, the 6 systems of philosophy, have been defiled like food that has been touched by the tongue, for they have been read or uttered by the tongue. Only one thing has not been defiled in this way, and that is Brahman. No one has ever been able to say what Brahman is. Vidyasagar to his friends, oh, that is a remarkable statement. I have learned something new today. Before we move on, I'll just make a couple of observations. One may read the Bhagavatam by light of a lamp, another may commit forgery by the same light, but the light is unaffected, the lamp is unaffected. Another example he gives is the sun sheds its light on the wicked as well as on the virtuous. Now, Brahman is that one existence, consciousness, bliss, and that's the ultimate reality of the universe. But that's not how we experience the universe. We experience the universe as good and bad, pleasant and unpleasant, life and death, virtue and sin, and as this play of life. Now, how do you explain that? If there's one uniform reality, which is not affected by anything, what are these things, this good and bad, sin, virtue, ups and downs of life? Life as we experience it, doesn't seem to be explained by saying that there is one ultimate reality which is not affected by anything. So what is it that we are experiencing? Sri Ramakrishna says, how then can you explain misery and sin and unhappiness? Answer is, all of these apply only to the jiva, not to Brahman, not to that ultimate reality. So what does this mean? We are affected by all of this, all of what happens in this world. We are part of this universe and we are affected by it. What is powering this universe, what is guiding all of it, is causality, law of karma. Good, good, bad, bad. So good karma leads to good results, pleasant results, which we call happiness, sukha. Bad karma leads to unpleasant results, which we call unhappiness. So it's causality which is powering all of this, and it accumulates. So the results of our past karma we find in this life, and all of it is not exhausted by this life. What will happen is, by the time this life comes to an end, whatever remains over will produce a new body and a new set of experiences, and continues to give results. As we live through life, we do things, we react to situations which come our way, and we generate fresh karma, good and bad. And that keeps on adding, and so the cycle goes round and round. Even more simply, the Buddha put it this way, his idea of interdependence. This happening, this arising, that arises. This not arising, that does not arise. It's a question of cause and effect. So we who are in this world, we are affected. Our bodies are affected, our minds are affected, our lives, a mixture of sorrow and pleasure and pain and so on. But then if you say that we are none other than Brahman, there's an ultimate reality, But we are none other than that. And when you're saying Brahman alone is appearing as this universe, what you are saying is this universe is actually Brahman. There were two realities, one unaffected and one in a mess like this. Then you could think about it. But if it's the same reality, how do you explain it? So Sri Ramakrishna gives a couple of examples. He says, like the light of the lamp. So the light of the lamp enables a person to read the Bhagavatam, read the scriptures, but it enables the crook to be a forger, the same light. Similarly, Brahman as consciousness, as existence, gives existence, consciousness to everything in this universe, and the universe carries on in its own way. The law of karma plays there. There is good and bad. All of it is given existence by Brahman, but it has no existence of its own. The sun sheds its light on the wicked as well as the virtuous. Another example. A third example he gives is the poison in the snake. So the snake is the master of the poison in its own glands, in the poison glands, and it can use that. It's a power for the snake. It can use that to catch its prey. Similarly, God, Saguna Brahman, Brahman with attributes, is immeasurably powerful, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. This is the power. And Lord, the Saguna Brahman or God is the master of that power. It deploys that power and it affects the rest of us. We are affected by that power, but the master of that power, just like the cobra is not affected by its own poison. In fact, it's a power for the cobra, but it is death for the mouse or the frog which the cobra catches. Similarly, we are jivas, we are affected by the power of Maya, which is the power of Brahman. But again, how can it be? So you can divide the question into two parts. How can it be that if I am Brahman, I, the jiva, I'm actually Brahman, how can I be affected and not affected? So the answer in Advaita Vedanta is that you are apparently affected, really not affected. To me, the problem is, to me, it seems that I am really affected. And that's because we are in ignorance. We do not know our real nature. If you knew your real nature, you would find something in yourself, a transcendent reality, which is not affected by the ups and downs of this world. A good example is an actor who plays a role. Now, as the role, actor plays the role of a hero in a theatrical performance or in a movie. In that theatrical performance, there's a particular script, and the hero in that theatrical performance goes through ups and downs, goes through sufferings. So many things happen to that person. There's a certain logic to that, internal logic to that play. Yet the actor can claim that in the midst of all these tears and sufferings and travails, I'm perfectly all right. Nothing is happening to me. Nothing is happening to the actor, but it's all happening to the character that the same actor is playing. Notice, same reality. In one sense, it is undergoing so many things which are happening. And yet, at the very same time, the actor is completely free of all the suffering. Are the two equal? Actor and the role that the actor plays, the hero in the play? No. One is fiction, one is reality. In reality, the actor is fine. In the play, as the role played by the actor, the character, so many things are happening, some of them good, some of them bad. It's all part of the plot. In reality, the screen of the movie is unaffected by the tragedies unfolding in the movie. Yeah. So in reality, but that reality, our problem is, if we knew that reality or if we had access to it, our real nature, it would be fine. But we don't have access to it. And we don't have access to it because Advaita Vedanta says we are ignorant of it. And so the search, it's an inquiry. An inquiry always produces knowledge. Knowledge overcomes ignorance. Problem is ignorance. Antidote is knowledge. And the way to get that antidote, the way to get that knowledge is inquiry, because knowledge is always produced by inquiry. And this inquiry must be about ourselves. It's about us. We are ignorant about our own reality. So that, and all of this sounds very theoretical or abstract. It isn't. It's very vibrant, very living. Look at Sri Ramakrishna or any saint or any of the enlightened ones, how did they face um, trouble or sorrow, problems in their lives, which is we find terribly difficult, which is we count as the most unpleasant things which could happen, disease and old age and death. What enables Sri Ramakrishna to be fine in the midst of cancer, while experiencing cancer, while suffering from the pain of cancer, and yet how can he claim to be above that? How can he claim that, or they say that you are in bliss? How can you be in bliss and yet suffering at the same time? It's just like the actor who knows, in my real nature, I'm not affected by all the troubles of the character in the movie or in the play. But as the character in the play, yes, there's a certain logic to it. This is the nature of the Jivan Mukta. The Jivan Mukta is just this person. There's a body, a name, a particular history. We know all of that about that particular saint. And yet internally, it's not a person anymore. That personality is just like a mask, and the person there knows his or her reality, which is an immortal existence, consciousness, bliss. From that perspective, I am fine, even in the midst of disease and old age and failure and suffering. Yeah. So there is poison in a snake, but the others may die if bitten by it. The snake itself is not affected by the poison. In that case, also it's true. All of this which is being caused is actually being caused by you, the real you. Caused in, I shouldn't use the word cause. It is because of your presence. All of this is appearing. It is because of Brahman that everything that we see in this universe has existence. It seems to exist. It's because of Brahman that every conscious experience that we have, to see and hear and smell and taste and touch, to think and understand and love and hate and suffer, all of these becomes possible because Brahman is consciousness itself. Without consciousness, it just goes dark. There is no experience possible. Note that when you are seeing something, you are aware. When you are thinking something, you are aware. When you are hearing, smelling, tasting, touching something, one common thing is you're aware. The things that you see and hear and smell and taste are different. The experiences of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching are different. But what is not obvious to us usually is that there is this uniform awareness at the background of it all, which is revealing all of these, illumining all of this. It's just like the common light which illumines everything. Things which are different, but all revealed by the same light. Here, all the experiences are internal to that light. It's because of that light that we are having all these experiences. This awareness itself is not affected by the contents of experience. And you are this awareness. Now, the next point he makes is that Brahman, what Brahman is, cannot be described. All things in the world, the Vedas, Puranas, etc., have been defiled. So this is an example that Sri Ramakrishna loved to give. This is a Bengali word, eto. Eto means if you touch some food, if you put it to your lips, or you have started eating and you touch some food, so everything in that plate is said to be defiled. Defiled not in a bad sense, it's just something that it's still fine. You can eat it, but others, you should not offer it to others. So in that sense, there is no clear translation of the word eto. I mean, all Indian languages have cognate words, similar words, but in English you can't translate it. It just means you have touched it with your tongue, or you have started eating, and so that is not suitable for giving to others. So defiled in a general sense. And Sri Ramakrishna says, he makes a play on this. Polluted, yes, but again, polluted is too strong actually. So if something is polluted, I wouldn't eat it. But if it is, my eto, I can eat it. There's no problem at all. But I can't give it to somebody else. But here Sri Ramakrishna is making a play on the word. So he's saying, eto hoye gache. That means it has been expressed by that. So the tongue has two purposes, two uses. One is to eat, taste. The other one is to speak. So what has been spoken by the tongue has been defiled by it. So whatever you've tried to express in language has already been defined. The absolute is beyond language. It cannot be expressed in language. Whenever you make an attempt to express it in language, it becomes defiled. That means it is inadequate. It's not wrong, but it's inadequate. You make the best possible effort to express that reality, which you have experienced it. So the original expressions, the rishis, for example, they are called Rishaya Mantra Drashtara. The rishis are the seers of the mantras. What does it mean, seers of the mantras? Swami Vivekananda says there are certain spiritual truths, and the rishis experienced them. And then they gave it out as language. What Sri Ramakrishna is saying, the moment you give it out as language, it's already limited. It's already lost the pristine nature of that mystic experience. So the ultimate reality cannot be expressed in language. Which we hear again and again in Vedanta, not only Vedanta, in fact, in all the mystical, higher spiritual traditions, in all religions in the world, that the ultimate reality is beyond human expression. You know, the letter killeth, they say that once you put it in, but there's no other way except putting it into language. All the scriptures, the source scriptures of the world, they're still language. Now, why is this important? Notice something. Just one page before this, 101, M says about Vidyasagar. M says about Vidyasagar. Vidyasagar, this is the last, the third paragraph from the bottom. So Vidyasagar had studied Hindu philosophy. Once, when M had asked him his opinion of it, Vidyasagar had said, I think the philosophers have failed to express what was in their, explain what was in their minds. Now, he sees it as a failure. And then, you know, what conclusion he comes to? That we cannot do anything about it. We should lead the best possible life in this world and help people. That's it. So he thinks that that there may be some ultimate spiritual truth, but it has not been adequately expressed in the scriptures by the teachers. It is they failed to do so. And his feeling is we have no access to it, and there is no point in chasing that. Sri Ramakrishna challenges that straight away. He says it's not a failure. The nature of Brahman is such that it cannot be expressed in language. So every language is an approximation. Every scripture is an approximation, is an attempt to express that, and valuable. In its own right, every attempt is valuable. What you see in the Upanishads, in the Gita, in the Bible, in the Quran, and the Zend-Avesta, in all the traditions of the world, they are valuable. They are pointers. But they are not entirely complete in themselves, nor are they precisely literally true in that sense. Why not? This I've mentioned earlier a number of times. Why not? In Advaita Vedanta, we have a clear analysis of why the absolute cannot be expressed in language. I'll run through it quickly. I've mentioned it a number of times earlier. You will find it in Mandukya Upanishad, in the 7th mantra, in the description of the Turiya. The 7th mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad, I've mentioned it. It's taken from Shankaracharya's commentary. Other Advaita Acharyas, masters, have also said this very clearly. Sureshwara Acharya in his Vartika is mentioned. What can language do and what can it not do? And why it fails to express Brahman. So what can language do? Language works when one of 5 factors are present. This is a little bit of philosophy of language from Shankaracharya himself. So language works when there are any one of 5 factors present, then you can use language. Jati, Guna, Kriya, Sambandha, Rudhi. Jati means if something belongs to a class of individuals. So he says, this is a cow. I can express it as a cow because there's a group of animals called cows and they share certain characteristics. So I find one more example of it which shares those characteristics, and I can use the word cow to designate that animal. So it's a jati, it's a class, it's a species. And now the problem is you can't do that with Brahman. Why not? Because there is only one absolute reality. It's not a group of absolutes. We can say, oh, it belongs to the category of the absolute reality. No, there is only one ultimate reality, so it doesn't work. You can't use a class or a species to designate the ultimate reality. Second, guna. You can indicate something by its qualities. So a red flower, bring me a red flower. What are you doing in this sentence? Suppose there's a bunch of flowers, so pink and yellow and whatever, and there are some red flowers too. The moment I utter this sentence, bring me a red flower, you immediately know what I'm referring to. And what I'm not referring to. Immediately you know I want a flower, and I don't want a yellow flower, I don't want a pink flower, I don't want a white flower, but I want a red flower. How did you know that? By the use of the word red. That distinguished the flower from all other flowers. So qualities can help you to distinguish something, point out something apart from others. You can designate something, name something with the help of a quality. Brahman, you know immediately, without qualities, nirguna. The ultimate reality has no descriptive, no attribute can be applied to it. So you can't use quality. Third is sambandha, or kriya. Third is kriya, action. Tell the driver of the car with such and such number that he's parked, double parked, his car is going to be towed. Now, how do you pull out one person from a group of people? You have designated him as the driver of this car by the action performed by that person. You don't know what the person looks like, you don't know his name, nothing, but you know there's a car and a driver. So by using that action, the driver, congratulate the cook of this dish, it's delicious. Cook, cooking, driving, whatever, speaker, speaking, these are actions. You can designate something by action, activity. A lot is done this way, in scientific investigations, for example. You have discovery of invisible tiny particles, but you infer their existence by the activity in, say, in a like a particle accelerator. You see some activity and then report it with very sensitive instruments, and then you report it, and then you analyze it with your mathematical equations, and then you see whether it's a particle that was predicted. Activity. Brahman is nishkriya, without any activity. So you cannot use activity to designate Brahman. Then there is sambandha, relationship. Guru, shishya, guru and teacher, student, father and children. So these are relationships. But the problem is you cannot use that to designate Brahman, because Brahman does not have any relation with anything. Brahman is, this relationship, it requires at least two terms. Dvinishtha sambandha. Definition of relationship is it resides in at least two entities. There is no second reality apart from Brahman. It's non-dual. So there's nothing apart from Brahman. You'll say, wait a minute, what about this universe? What about us? We are there. But this universe is an appearance. Brahma satyam jagat mithya. There can be no relation between the real and an appearance. There's no relationship between the screen and, say, the villain in a movie. The villain in a movie is not a second reality apart from the movie screen. You see, it's just the screen appearing in that way. So then you cannot have a relationship with Brahman. You cannot use a relationship to designate Brahman. Then there is another possibility. Just give it a name. Just give it a name. Call it Brahman, X, Y, Z, something. So can't you use language like that? Isn't that what we do with people? There are people here, Ram, Sham, and John and Jim. So many names are there. We're just giving. This baby will now be called Ram or Sita from now on. Why? Is it a quality or an action? No, nothing like that. I'm just naming a person, giving a name. So why not do that? That's called rudi, convention. Naming something by convention. Designate. From now on, we will use this word for this entity. So why don't we do that? We can say that, call it Brahman or something. No, that also won't work. How do we name? When we name something, we have to point out what we are naming. If I say, call John, you will ask, who is John? Point out John to me. If I can't point out John, how will you know whom I'm talking about? So when you name something, you have to point out what you are naming. This X is called Y. But if you say it's called Y, and somebody asks, what is called Y? You say, I won't tell you. Then then the naming has not worked. Nobody understands what you're talking about. You cannot point out Brahman. You can't say this is Brahman, because Brahman is not something that you see, hear, smell, taste, touch. It's not something you can conceive of. Not something that you infer. So how will you point out Brahman? Even the enlightened person can't point out Brahman to you directly unless you get it for yourself. So all of the 5 possibilities of naming something fails. Jati, guna, kriya, sambandha, rudi. A class designator, or a quality, or a relationship, action, a relationship, or just conventional naming. All of them fail. Therefore, language cannot denote the absolute. Language functions in duality. To put it simply, a language requires multiplicity. And non-duality, language cannot function. Since we are approaching the non-dual through the dual, we can use language. We have to use language. But you notice you're using language for something it is not designed for. That's why you're always operating on the margins of language. It keeps failing. You have to keep using multiple examples and analogies and metaphors, implications to point to something. Okay, one question may arise here. Wait a minute, aren't you using Brahman, Atman? Aren't you using consciousness, things like that? True, true. But if you look carefully, what do you understand by those words? Nothing. If you did, if I say glasses, you understand this immediately. You have no problem. If I say shirt, you understand this immediately. There's no problem. Sarva Priyananda, you say this guy. You understand? There's no problem. If I say Brahman, point out Brahman to me. No, you can't do it. The enlightened one knows what he's talking about, but even he or she cannot point it out to us. And they make an attempt to show it to us, to explain it to us, or to take us there. And the attempt is all of these texts and stories and examples, instructions, pointers, all of them. Then how does language work? Ultimately, if you say language cannot designate Brahman in any way, then what is going on here? What are the Upanishads? What is the Gita? And we are moving on to the next question. Then how is it that language is being used? Scriptures are language after all. So they are used only, so they've developed certain strategies. Let me give you some examples. So strategies like, for example, neti neti. Since language cannot point out what Brahman is, but we can use it to point out what Brahman is not. Shankaracharya uses a very nice story in his commentary Bhashya to the Aitariya Upanishad. He uses this very significant story. He says this whole spiritual quest is like this. All our teaching and all is like this. A man was sitting very unhappily, miserable. And teacher comes along, or a wise person comes along. Why are you unhappy, my friend? And this man said, oh, my teacher, my guru scolded me. He was disappointed in me and he shouted at me, you aren't a human being. Amanushyatam, you're non-human. So I'm so sad, I'm non-human. Then this wise man said, oh, look, don't be sad. What is a non-human? Like do you think you're a stone or a pebble or dust or something? No, of course not. These are stones. I'm not a stone. Okay. So you think you are plants and herbs and shrubs? No. That's different. I'm not plants. Do you think you're an animal like a lizard or a cat or do you think you're a bird? And he says, no. So what he's doing is, whatever is non-human is giving you examples, is giving that man examples. Are you this? Are you this non-human thing? You say you're non-human. Your guru told you you're non-human. You're shocked and traumatized by this. I'm giving you examples. Think of any non-human thing. And you see that you are not that. You are not this non-human thing. You're not that non-human thing. And they exhaust all possible non-human things. And so you're clear, you're not any of these non-human things. And this man says, yes. Now I know that I am not any of these non-human things. I'm not a non-human. Then Shankaracharya says, if after this he says, then what am I? If I'm not a non-human, then what am I? Then he says, Shankaracharya says, nobody can help him then. You see, you're supposed to understand, not non-human, not human, not human means human. I'm supposed to get it. There's nothing other than, if it's not A, it must be A. I'm supposed to get it. Now, in this example, you may say that why didn't he just straight away say, you are human? Come on, you are human. In this example, it's fine, because human is something you can point out. It's a category. It's a jati, a species, a class. You can point out that you are human, my friend. But for Brahman, you can't point out. The only thing that Shankaracharya says you can do is point to everything that you are and make the person see that I am not that, and yet I do exist. Then what am I? Notice all the techniques that we use. For example, the analysis of the 5 levels of the 5 sheets of the human personality. What we are absolutely sure we are. Vedanta says we challenge that. Tell me, what are you? And this body, that's where we start from. And we are shown that we cannot be this body. We begin to, this is the first huge step. The rest comes easily, actually. The first huge step is to step back here, right here in this body. Yet I can say that I am not literally this body. I am not this body, and this body is not I. Then you go further. What are you? Are you a mind? Are you the prana? Are you the mind? Are you the intellect? And we see with reasoning and with direct experience. It's a rational and experiential way. We are shown we cannot be the prana. We cannot be the mind. It's there, but I'm not it. Just like the shirt is there, but I'm not a shirt. And the shirt is not me. I am not it. It's not part of me. I'm not part of it. And then you go further, intellect, then beyond the intellect, the Anandamaya Kosha. What is being done here? What is being done here is just everything that I considered myself to be. You know, Guru said you're non-human. Word has taught me that I am a material being. This material being am I. And then Vedanta shows me you are not this. And it gets me to admit that, yeah, I get it. I cannot be this body, prana, mind, intellect. Beyond that, the blankness also. Other than these, I see nothing. Then what am I? I obviously exist, and yet whatever I thought I was, I am not. And I must come to see this, not just theorize about it. It must be experiential. Then one has to catch it directly. What am I? It's obvious, but only words can be used to point out. That's why, see, Atman, Chaitanya, Brahman, these words are used. But until one catches it directly, these words also will not directly designate anything. Anyway, that's a lot of technicalities. Just Sri Ramakrishna simply says it cannot be used, language cannot express it directly. The interesting thing here is, put it together with what Vidyasagar himself used to say. Vidyasagar thought all these teachings are failures. They have not been able to express anything. Therefore, there's no use pursuing this. Sri Ramakrishna says it is the very nature of that absolute reality. In fact, it's a success. If they had been able to express it, it would be one more thing. Maybe a very good thing, Brahman, Atman, God, but it would still be one more thing. It would be part of this material universe. They are pointing to it. And the pointing will be successful if you follow the teachings of the texts. If you give up, then you have something like Vidyasagar. That nothing can come up following that. It's a failure. They could not express it. They did the best they could, and that's the way to realize it. Okay. That's why all of this, Vidyasagar being a very sharp individual, very perceptive, notice what he says. Oh, that is a remarkable statement. I have learned something new today. Oh, there are already some comments we'll see. In Brahma Sutra chapter 3, it states that in heaven, good karma is exhausted. You come to earth to take care of the bad karma. Why does the bad karma not get exhausted in heaven? Because it's heaven. What is heaven? What is our basically idea of heaven? Not Swarga. And it's not just one heaven. In Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, you have multiple levels of heavens. They're all very nice and pleasant states. And they're all earned by good karma. So good karma gives pleasant experiences. In heaven, you're having a series of pleasant experiences. It's one long party. Some of the experiences may be more pleasant than others, some may be less pleasant than others, but they're all very good. Nobody, in Kathopanishad we will see, when in Kathopanishad we'll see that the boy Nachiketa tells Yama that in heaven there is no old age, and there is no hunger and thirst, and they all drink. There's one top drink there called nectar, Amrita. They drink that and they're happy. They enjoy their lives with extraordinary delight. Where does that come from? That delight, that pleasure, and that fun. It all comes from good karma, some of which we see in a little bit here in this life. So good karma is giving its results. That's why we call it heaven. If it was miserable, if you are having trouble, sometimes the demons come and attack heaven. That's a different matter. But other than that, you generally don't expect trouble in heaven. But there are these other worlds which are just the opposite. If you have been very naughty, then all the bad karma will propel you to hell. And there you get only trouble. So in heaven, good karma is exhausted, but still a load of bad karma remains, and we come back. It's not just bad karma, there'll be still some good karma, and we come back to this world. If we have been very naughty and we are in hell, bad karma gets exhausted through suffering, and again we come back to this world. So that's the general idea. But the goal is not to go to heaven or not to go to hell. Swami Vivekananda shocked people here when he came in the late 19th century. He said to people here, imagine all strict Christians, he told them, I have come to stop you, I've come to teach you how to stop going to heaven. But I mean, it's basically this is to stop the cycle of birth and death. But you can imagine how shocking that was for a Christian audience. I've come to teach you how to stop going to heaven. Now, one clarification here. He was being rhetorical. The heaven which Christianity talks about, or is just the same as the dualistic religions which talk about, Vaishnavism, Shaktaism, Islam, Judaism. Judaism does not talk too much about it, but I asked, a rabbi said actually that there is an extensive theory of, what happens after death. The heaven of the highest heaven of religion in all these religions, that is not the heaven Swami Vivekananda is talking about, or the heaven this is mentioned here. That is heaven as staying in the presence of God, and that is moksha. From a dualistic perspective, devotional religions will talk about that heaven, where after death you go and live permanently in a state of spiritual grace in the presence of God, and that's beautiful. You still retain your individuality, but there's no worldliness there. There's no coming back to worldly states. What is mentioned here, you go to heaven, come back to the world, and go to hell and come back to the world again. These are the lower heavens, which are earned not by spirituality, but by merit, by good works. Girish, do Jivan Muktas have a responsibility to uplift, educate others, or are they content to remain in their own bliss of awareness? Yes, Sri Ramakrishna has mentioned this a number of times. There are different kinds of Jivan Muktas. So Sri Ramakrishna says this. He says, some are there who help others, some are there who remain content in their own bliss. Swami Gambhirananda Ji, in one place, he categorizes Jivan Muktas into three categories. One is those who choose to remain immersed in the bliss of their mystical realization. They don't interact with anybody else in the world. So an example would be when Swami Vivekananda, after his experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Sri Ramakrishna asked him, so what do you want now? And Vivekananda, Narendranath at that time, he said, I want to remain immersed in Samadhi. Once in a while I'll come down for a snack maybe, but then I'll go back and stay in that state. And Sri Ramakrishna scolded him. He said, I thought your life will be like a great banyan tree under which hundreds will get shade, shelter and succor from suffering. But I mean, that's there, and that's great. That's why we are all here today, reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna here in New York, and all this is possible. But what Swami Vivekananda said at that time, that I will remain immersed in Samadhi, that is not a small thing. That is, in fact, the goal set out in religion to remain immersed in God, to realize God and remain immersed in God. That is actually the goal of human life. There can be something beyond that, But that goal, there can be many Jivan Muktas who are like that. Some you would see as very holy, you would be attracted and elevated by their personality, by their presence. Some we might not even recognize. It could be like that. The second kind of Jivan Mukta is that person recognizes the world, sees the world, but sees it as like a magic play, like a movie, like a dream, and is delighted by the craziness of it all. I'm always reminded of this monk who came to Dakshineshwar. And Sri Ramakrishna said, he would remain in his hut all day long, but once in a while he would come out and see the temple and the sky and the river and shout in delight, "Wah, wah, wonderful, bravo, bravo," and go back into the hut and remain immersed in meditation. So these are the crazy people of God. They may seem like madmen. They seem immersed in the bliss of their realization and see the world as a dream. They too do not come forward to teach, guide, help. The third group is those whose hearts melt in compassion and they become the great teachers of humanity. So that group of Jivan Muktas would be, the great gurus and teachers who are enlightened themselves and engage themselves in work. And that was the kind preferred by, say, Swami Vivekananda or the Buddha or the great founders of religion, Jesus and others. They wanted their followers to be like that. But it's true. If you are completely immersed in Brahman, or if you see the world but see it as a play of Brahman, as a dream, you are still fully enlightened. Your liberation is guaranteed. It's done. And you are an incredibly holy person. Your very presence would be a blessing to anybody. Swami Vivekananda says, such people, even if they sit in a cave and remain in meditation and die in that way, without coming in contact with anybody, their thoughts will radiate out from there and will be of immense help to humanity. People may not know who they are. So these are three kinds of Jivan Muktas. Sri Ramakrishna put all of this in a very simple way, as usual. He said, those who go and eat mangoes in a mango orchard, so some will eat the mango and wipe their face, so nobody even knows what they have eaten the mango. Others will call others to come and share it, And that story of the three friends, that they went and they saw a big wall and they wanted to see what was on the other side of the wall. With great difficulty, one of them climbed over and saw there was a mart of joy, a festival going on the other side of the high wall. So with a shout of joy, he jumped over. The second person was curious. He too climbed with great difficulty. He too saw that sight and he jumped over on the other side. Third person climbed. He too saw that and was about to jump and enjoy that, but he then thought, all those people in the poor village where we all come from, they're suffering so much. They don't know there is this great joy here. Who will tell them if I go away? So he turns back and he climbs down and goes back to the village to tell them. So this is the third kind of Jivan Mukta. And we are really grateful for them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have religion, spirituality, and all of this. But the avatar is higher than all of this. These are all people like us who have become enlightened. And they may have these three attitudes. But the avatar is a descent from the divine, from the Saguna Brahman, not like us. Alpana Chatterjee says, intellect doesn't have any doubts. Mind has accepted that I'm just a tool. Eye is hanging. It doesn't know what to identify with. Yet reality is not accessible. Where does one go from there? The eye is consciousness itself. Apart from the body, as the witness of the body, as the witness of the mind, what are you? You are consciousness itself, awareness itself, without limitation, shining in and through this body and mind. So this I refers really to Brahman and practically to the ego in this mind, which is coordinating the activities of the body and mind. So no, the real I is not the ego. Real I, when you inquire, it refers back to something which is not objective. The ego is objective. It's a thing, not a physical thing, but a subtle thing. And let it remain. It's that which coordinates the activities of the body and mind. Ahankara, abhimanatmika antakarana vritti, in Vedanta is defined. That which is the appropriating function of the mind, which appropriates to itself all the activities of body, mind, senses. We do not know any better, so we think I am that. And then samsara, you're trapped in samsara. I am not the body mind. The place to distinguish yourself is from the ego. I am not the ego. Shankaracharya sings, Ahankara na aham, mano buddhi chittahang, mano buddhi ahankara chittani na aham. And then only he can say Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. So what is the I? Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. Carefully, from now on, where do we go from there? Carefully protect this I. Don't let it slip back into body mind. Protect the purity of this awareness. I as awareness. Protect the limitlessness. What does it mean, protect the limitlessness? Notice, I am not limited by a body. Birth of the body is not my birth. Changing of the body is not my changing. Aging of the body is not my aging. Death of the body is not my aging, not my death. So you're just saying that, Swami. Prove it. Because, know for sure, death is something that we will experience. He says, so look at the tremendous thing that just was said. If I experience death, then I'm not dead. This may sound like a disturbing thing to say, but I'm giving it with Swami guarantee that when that day comes, that day which will come for all of us, we will all say, oh, the Swami was right, I'm not dead. Hey, that's great. The body is dead, but I'm not dead, I'm just the same. I don't know if we'll be able to think at that point, but anyway, the thing is that we'll be able to experience this. If I experience it, one important takeaway is, I am not dead with the death of the body. Protect your limitlessness. Protect the I from the mind. The mind will keep trying to suck you back in. Either it will tempt you with nice projects, with nice thoughts, or it will scare you with anxiety and fear. Nothing that happens to the body and mind affects you ultimately. You see, you are like the cobra with the poison. You are like the sun and its light. You are like the lamp which lights up. The body may be reading the Bhagavatam, or it may be forging. Nobody here is forging money, but the thing is, whatever happens in the body, good and bad, it does not affect you, the light. So protect this understanding. This is a great safety as you walk through the path of life, the thorny paths of life. It's a great safety. Brahman is that, Bill says, Brahman is that for which language fails. Languages fail. Yes. Sean Lee says, does Brahman look like images in our altar? Brahman doesn't look like anything. It's not something you can see. Does Brahman sound like a mantra? Om? No, Brahman doesn't sound like anything. It's not a sound. Brahman doesn't. So does Brahman taste like the delicious prasad we get in the temple? No. Brahman doesn't taste like anything. It's not something you can taste. You can't see it, taste it, touch it, smell it. So it's not an object of the senses. Now, what is this worshipping through images? So how do we, language cannot express Brahman, yet we must talk in language. So we did it in language. Now, no symbol is adequate for Brahman, but you have to use symbols to point to Brahman. Every religion, somehow you have to do it. So symbols are used, art is used. And in certain religions, you can use deities, depictions of deities. And these deities, the forms they depict glory and power, transcendence and beauty and love. All of these we try to depict through these images. Are they imaginations of poets? No, they're not imaginations. That's the thing. Mystics have experienced the divine in these forms. So this form, is it Brahman? It is not Brahman in itself. It is Brahman through a mystical name and form. Name and form is just like any other name and form. Difference is the worldly names and forms. What do I mean by worldly names and forms? Is what we see around ourselves. What we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, all these people, all these objects, my own body. This worldly set of names and forms, it traps us in samsara. But these divine names and forms, Durga, Kali, Vishnu, whatever way they have been experienced and depicted, these names and forms are gateways to freedom. So this is the technology behind image worship. Let me tell you how it went. So the first big breakthrough was, hey, no, God is formless. This is a superstition to worship God in all these forms. So God is formless. Not only that, God is one. So all these different images you are worshipping, this is all false. You're worshipping gods which are false, and you're worshipping many gods. So polytheism, God, image worship, all of it was condemned. And then you have one reality, formless reality, and that is God. And that became the great breakthrough of the monotheistic religions. First in Zoroastrianism, and especially in Judaism, following which Christianity and Islam. That was the great breakthrough. But notice, there also, you really did not have that much of an advance. That formless reality somehow is male. How? That doesn't stand to reason. How can a formless real for God be male? So it's actually beyond gender, but anyway, somehow we are supposed to think of it as male. That formless reality has plenty of characteristics. Is loving and just, and sometimes is angry. Sounds like a angry old man, basically. Somebody said the old curmudgeon. So maybe that was the model in which God was thought of. Beyond that idea of monotheism, Vedanta actually says it's not one separate reality. It is the one reality which is beyond all of that. You are right, as in the Judaic religions, Abrahamic religions. But that one reality is also in and through this entire universe. It is immanent here. It itself appears as all of this. Since it appears as all of this, since it is not only transcendent beyond all, but also in and through all, it is possible, it's entirely legitimate to fix upon certain modes of worship here and now. You can fix upon a particular symbol, an image, a form, and worship God there. Why? Because God is present there. There are a lot of arguments which show the idea that God is not present here, God is only somewhere else, that leads to terrible problems, philosophically speaking. I mean, I won't go into that, but first off, the simple philosophical problem would be, imagine if there is a God and God is not here in this creation, in the world, in human beings, animals, everywhere, if God is not here, then here, this world, this universe, in that case, is separate from God. You'll say, so? If it is separate from God, then there are two realities, God and this universe. Then God is not infinite. There is something that is not God. That is not infinity. Infinity is that which has no limit at all. There must not be anything apart from that infinity. Every reality must be that reality. So the very idea of limiting God immediately makes it not God. So all of this must be God in some sense. Therefore, if you worship God in a symbol, in a particular image, which comes to you through tradition, and many mystics have. So Sri Ramakrishna was a tremendous answer to this question, this charge of image worship. Most the image, you can't go any more image worship than that, Kali, woman, black, skulls, all of that, everything that might find some from a atheistic background or from an Abrahamic tradition might find repulsive, all of that, and Sri Ramakrishna worships that and becomes enlightened. Swami Vivekananda was asked, image worship, he says, Sri Ramakrishna became enlightened by worshipping images. If you can become like Sri Ramakrishna, worship 1,000 images, I tell you. So he says that, Swami Vivekananda. I'll share this with you. The deepest understanding of the secret of image worship is this. The Shankaracharya of Puri, I heard it from him. It's really worth thinking about. It's a very non-dualistic way of looking at it, but very beautiful. Usually, when you ask a Vedanta practitioner or a Hindu, what are you doing when you're worshipping an image? He or she will tell you what I've been telling you till now, is that we invoke the presence of the divine in this image of Shiva or Kali or Durga, and then we worship it. We know that this clay or metal or wood is not God, but we are invoking the divine in it, and we have every right to do so because God is immanent, is present everywhere. So you can invoke the presence of the divine here. And when we worship, and we have this tradition of worship. Now the Puri Shankaracharya said, even this is a preliminary understanding. The deeper understanding is this. It's not that this is not God and we're invoking the presence of God here. No, the whole secret of image worship is to remove the mistake that it is not God. It's not. So what is he trying to say? It's not wood. It is consciousness itself. It is Brahman itself. It's not stone. Look at the range we have gone from. The most primitive mistake of thinking it's wood or stone or wood or metal and thinking it is God somehow. From there, correction is no, stone, wood, metal cannot be God. God is formless beyond this. Then you go to, there is a transcendent God beyond the world. Then you go next to an immanent God, transcendent and yet in and through this entire universe. Like a movie screen is in and through the entire movie. Like the dreamer is present in and through everything in the dream. God is present here everywhere. Then you go further, not even in and through, God alone is. What you thought was wood, metal, clay is not wood, metal or clay. It is that divinity. And this correction is done by image worship. So that's the deepest understanding of the secret of image worship, very non-dualistic understanding. Abhijit says, how does the Neti logic hold up against the Chatushkoti logic of the Buddhists? It's the same thing. Chatushkoti logic is more worked out in detail. The Chatushkoti was popularized by Nagarjuna in the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. What is the Chatushkoti? Not that it is, not that it is not, not that it is both is and is not, not that that it is not and not also. That is a negation of the denial. So one is the negation of the conjunction, that it is and it is not. And the other one is not that it is and not that it is not, and deny the whole thing. So this is the four. So for example, if you say, does God exist? Nagarjuna will say, put it in the Chatushkoti, not that God exists. Ah, so you are an atheist. I always thought Buddhists were atheists. You say God does not exist. No, the second option comes into play then. Not that it does not exist. So are you saying it both exists and does not exist? No, that's contradictory. How can something both exist and not exist? So not that it both exists and does not exist. So are you saying that it neither exists and neither does not exist? No, not even that. Chatushkoti vinirmukta tattvam shunya, because emptiness is that. Emptiness is not a thing which exists. Emptiness is not nothing. Emptiness is not both existence and non-existence. And emptiness is not the denial of both. See, it sounds crazy. What does it mean? No, it's actually pretty simple. Think of the simple example of ornament and gold. So there are ornaments like necklaces and bracelets and rings. Now you're talking about gold. First option. So this gold you're talking about, is it an ornament? Does it exist? Means does it exist as an ornament? What do we say? No, no. Oh, so gold does not exist. No, no. It's not that it does not exist. So it's both an ornament and not an ornament. No. So it's neither an ornament nor not an ornament. No, not even that. And yet gold is something very obvious. Similarly, your consciousness is like that. When you say or when you say existence, sat, being, pure being, what does it mean? Does it exist? It is not an existing thing. Any existing thing in the world, you say, is it pure being, sat? No. Then it does not exist? No, not even that. It both exists and does not exist, pure being, sat? No, that's a contradictory statement. You can't affirm both at the same time. Can you deny both? Not even that. And yet Sat is. Chitta also, consciousness also like that. How can we get rid of bad karma on earth? The first thing is consciously, deliberately keep on trying to do good karma and carefully try to avoid bad karma. And ultimately, how do you get rid of bad karma? The higher thing is devotion. By the Ishvara is karmadhyaksha, the one word used for God, whether you worship as Shiva, Vishnu, whatever, is the Lord of karma. Causality is not hard and fast. Saguna Brahman, Ishvara, God, is the master of causality. Therefore, by the will of God, our karma can be changed. So that is the higher understanding of karma. And finally, how do you get rid of karma? Both good and bad karma. The goal is to become enlightened, and the whole of karma becomes like a movie. You are free of it. Just like the screen is free of the good and bad movies. It's free, it's not affected. Swami Vivekananda's, good, bad, none escape the law. Whosoever wears a form wears the chain too. But far beyond name and form is Atman ever free. Know thou art that. Sannyasi bold, say Om Tat Sat Om. That is the real freedom from karma. So step by step, at the practical level, keep on doing good karma. Will that free me from my past bad karma? No, it won't. But if you continuously do good karma, what happens is the accumulation of good karma starts giving result. So your life will be much better. The bad karma will not come out of the storehouse. So it's there, it will not impact you directly. And in the meantime, if you can attain enlightenment, go well and good. The second thing to do, a deeper, higher thing to do, is catch hold of God. Catch hold of the Lord of karma. Catch hold of the Divine Mother through devotion and surrender. That will also help you. And finally, enlightenment, to completely go beyond karma forever. Prabir Babu, it appears to me that Vidyasagar was quite a proud person with very little humility and not much interest in spirituality. There's a difference between him and a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. Actually, you're right. But I would not say he was an ordinarily arrogant person. No, he was a person of very sterling qualities. That's why Sri Ramakrishna took the trouble of visiting him. It's a great blessing, actually. So the idea is that a person may be a very good person, a decent person, really a well-wisher for lots of people, but not particularly interested in spirituality. But such a person may be fit for spirituality. Sri Ramakrishna told him that there is gold within you, you don't know it. So if you just make a little effort, that will be clear. It's much easier for such a person to become spiritual. Yeah, but you are right, you have noticed that. But that kind of, he was a genuinely good person. So that's why he entertains someone like Sri Ramakrishna. From his perspective, he's such a well-known person, a great scholar, a great social reformer. Sri Ramakrishna is just the mad Brahmin, the priest of the Kali temple. So he could have just as well ignored him, but he shows a great deal of respect to Sri Ramakrishna, and he's listening carefully to what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. Shweta says, you mentioned that Brahman can never be expressed in words beyond words. Where will you put the sense of I am or presence? Is it not Brahman? Yes, only if you know. If you sense it, if you intuit it, if you have a feel for it, then you know what is meant by the word I am or the presence, Brahman, consciousness. Otherwise, what will happen is, for the rest of us, when I say I am, it simply means the ego. I am. I'm thinking that I am. I feel it. It is the self-awareness of the ego. And that I am, it will disappear in deep sleep. Then if you say presence, it's just my physical presence, or the physical presence, so you're aware of the presence of another person. It's not awareness existence. Then Brahman, it will just be like a theoretical construct that there's an ultimate reality which is appearing as this world. Well, fine, I believe it. It's a great idea, but I don't know. I don't have a direct feel for it. A direct feel for it will be there when one has made a breakthrough about it. Then all these words, why just presence or I am or Brahman? All these words, Atman, Brahman, the clear light of the void, the peace that passeth understanding. In all the scriptures of the world, there are these phrases which refer to the final thing, the highest thing. They'll all make sense immediately. All of them, you'll know what they're talking about. Some of us, we get a sense of it from time to time. That's not enlightenment, that's not done yet, but that's a wonderful thing to get, to know for sure that it's talking about something very real and very valuable. So on that note, let's end today. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.